The whole description she does of the Portland hospital, the birth, that was completely fabricated. We all know.
The royal world has reportedly been shaken to its core after investigative journalist Tom Bower, known for exposing secrets powerful figures would rather keep hidden, released claims so explosive that Prince Harry is said to be struggling to cope. This is not another temporary royal feud, streaming deal controversy, or headline destined to disappear within days. Instead, it touches on one of the most personal and sensitive aspects of Harry's identity. The silence coming from Montecito has only intensified public curiosity. As observers note, it may be the loudest response of all. Bower, a respected investigative biographer with decades of experience and a record of publishing deeply researched works that have reshaped public perception of prominent figures, carries significant influence whenever he speaks. Unlike gossip commentators, his claims often force institutions to respond, and many of his past revelations, initially dismissed as outrageous, were later proven accurate. His latest assertions focus on long-standing whispers surrounding the births of Archie and Lilibet, rumors fueled by perceived inconsistencies in timelines, missing traditional royal birth protocols, and details from Meghan's account of the Portland hospital delivery that critics argue do not fully align. According to Bower, these questions may point toward a closely guarded secret involving possible surrogacy, an allegation that, if true, could have serious constitutional implications because the royal line of succession depends on biological lineage. Royal commentators emphasize that succession is not symbolic but legal, meaning any uncertainty surrounding biological heritage could challenge the legitimacy of royal titles and positions within the monarchy. Reports suggest Harry has reacted intensely to the renewed scrutiny, with insiders describing sleepless nights, constant monitoring of headlines, and a tense atmosphere within his California home, sharply contrasting with the peaceful image presented in previous interviews and documentaries. The situation has reportedly left him anxious and withdrawn, a striking contrast to the public figure who once spoke openly about mental health, healing, and finding peace after stepping away from royal duties. This contrast raises a lingering question among observers. Is this simply the reaction of someone frustrated by rumors, or does it reflect deeper complications behind the carefully managed public narrative? Former military colleagues are said to barely recognize the man described in recent reports, remembering instead a focused and disciplined soldier, while fatherhood, once portrayed as Harry's path to personal redemption, now appears at the center of an unfolding controversy that continues to capture global attention. Royal life had once taken away Harry's sense of purpose and grounding, leaving fatherhood as his safe place and emotional anchor. But now that very anchor is being pulled into public scrutiny. While Harry is reportedly struggling under the pressure, Meghan is said to be responding very differently: calm, controlled, strategic, and largely silent. Sources claim she has shifted into full crisis management mode, relying not on emotional public appeals, but on legal strategy, with cease and desist letters allegedly sent to media outlets, formal warnings issued, and defamation threats used in an effort to stop stories before they spread. Ironically, critics argue this approach may be fueling even more attention, as each legal move becomes a headline itself and reinforces public suspicion that something is being hidden. Many observers believe that if allegations were clearly false, transparency and documentation would end speculation faster than legal pressure, a perception that continues to grow across social media platforms where viral discussions, detailed timeline analyses, and online debates intensify daily. Meghan's silence, once viewed as strength, is now interpreted by some as contradiction, especially compared to her earlier public emphasis on openness and personal truth. At the same time, the differing reactions attributed to Harry and Meghan, one appearing emotionally affected, while the other remains composed and strategic, have created an image that commentators say does not reflect a united front. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace has maintained complete silence, offering no statements or background briefings despite historically responding even to minor controversies, a decision many analysts consider highly significant. Some suggest the palace may be avoiding comment because any response could trigger wider constitutional consequences, while others speculate that internal discussions are already taking place behind closed doors involving legal advisors and senior courtiers assessing potential implications for royal succession and institutional stability. Adding to public speculation is the noticeable absence of routine royal acknowledgements, such as standard birthday messages, which observers have contrasted with the warm public celebrations regularly shared for other royal children. This silence has only intensified debate, leading to growing online discussion about the most controversial question, now dominating public conversation, the possibility of definitive proof through a DNA test, and what such a development could mean for both the family and the monarchy itself. What was once considered fringe speculation has now entered mainstream discussion, debated openly on national television by respected commentators, royal historians, and journalists who would have avoided the subject entirely just a few years ago. The argument many observers present is simple. If claims surrounding Archie and Lilibet's biological origins are completely false, a DNA test could end the controversy instantly and permanently, shutting down rumors, removing tabloid narratives, and collapsing conspiracy theories overnight. The fact that this has not happened has become, for some, the most troubling aspect of the situation, not because silence proves guilt, which it does not legally or logically, but because in the court of public opinion, when an apparent solution exists yet remains unused, people begin forming their own conclusions. Some commentators have gone further, arguing that questions connected to royal succession extend beyond personal privacy, framing the issue as constitutional rather than private due to the monarchy's public funding and symbolic role in national identity. While this argument remains controversial and strongly debated, its growing presence in serious public discourse demonstrates how far the conversation has progressed. Each day without a response intensifies scrutiny, especially given that Harry and Meghan previously built their public image around transparency and speaking openly against institutional silence. Critics now see a contradiction between that message and their current lack of comment on an issue many consider central to their credibility. Stepping back, analysts suggest the stakes extend far beyond personal reputation, potentially affecting the monarchy itself, whose legitimacy historically rests on bloodline and public trust. Any uncertainty surrounding lineage could challenge centuries-old traditions tied to titles and succession, while further eroding confidence already strained by years of royal controversies and divisions. Unlike past scandals focused on personal conflicts or media disputes, this situation, if ever substantiated, would raise questions about whether the public had been fundamentally misled regarding members of the royal family, a scenario that could damage not only individual reputations, but institutional stability itself. This is why the palace is believed to be acting cautiously, aware that even a minor misstep or poorly framed response could escalate the crisis further, choosing instead to remain silent while hoping the controversy fades. Yet silence does not always contain public speculation, and as scrutiny grows, attention increasingly turns to the Sussex brand itself, a narrative built after their royal departure on authenticity, openness, and emotional honesty, which now faces perhaps its greatest test as critics argue that the very values used to define their identity are being challenged by the current controversy. After stepping away from royal duties, Harry and Meghan built an entire public identity around openness and honesty, signing major deals with Netflix, giving the headline-making Oprah interview, publishing one of the most personal royal memoirs in history, launching podcasts, delivering speeches, and accepting awards centered on transparency and advocacy. Every move reinforced a single message. They would tell their truth publicly and unapologetically, defining their brand through honesty and rebellion against institutional secrecy. Now, critics argue that this carefully constructed identity is being tested by their silence on the very issue where transparency might matter most, leading some observers to reassess past documentaries, interviews, and curated social media moments as increasingly staged or controlled rather than spontaneous glimpses into real life. As audiences revisit earlier content with renewed skepticism, supporters who once defended the couple passionately are beginning to express uncertainty, shifting from unwavering loyalty to cautious questioning, a change many analysts see as far more damaging than outright opposition because it signals erosion within their strongest base of support. Beneath the controversy lies a deeply human dimension centered on Prince Harry himself, a figure shaped by lifelong trauma following the death of his mother at age 12, an event witnessed by the world as he walked behind her coffin under intense global scrutiny. That formative moment influenced decades of struggle with identity, purpose, and belonging, leading him toward therapy, military service, and eventually family life, which he repeatedly described as his emotional refuge and source of stability. Fatherhood, by his own account, became the anchor that justified his departure from royal life, and now that anchor is being publicly questioned, creating what observers describe as not merely a media crisis, but a personal and psychological one. Reports portraying sleepless nights, anxiety, and emotional strain reflect the immense pressure of having one's identity as a father debated on a global stage, a situation that no legal strategy or public relations campaign can easily resolve. As the controversy intensifies, the couple appears to face two diverging paths: continuing their current strategy of silence, legal warnings, and controlled public appearances in hopes the controversy fades, or choosing direct transparency to confront the allegations head-on. Yet critics argue that silence may no longer be effective, as ongoing scrutiny fueled by media attention and Tom Bower's reputation ensures the story continues to resurface, with every unanswered question amplifying speculation, and every carefully managed appearance analyzed for signs of performance rather than authenticity. The strategy of silence, many observers argue, may no longer be effective because the world has already seen too much, asked too many questions, and noticed too many inconsistencies for the controversy to simply fade away. At this point, Harry and Meghan appear to face two clear paths: continue maintaining silence while relying on legal responses and controlled public appearances, or step forward directly to address the allegations with the transparency they have long claimed defines their values. The second path is undoubtedly more difficult, requiring vulnerability and a willingness to confront rumors publicly, yet supporters and critics alike suggest it may be the only option capable of stopping the slow erosion of credibility. Whatever choice they make next will likely shape not only current headlines, but also how history ultimately remembers them, as the questions surrounding Archie and Lilibet are unlikely to disappear and will continue to echo through future discussions of modern royal history. Attention now turns to several key signals observers are watching closely. Any shift in Buckingham Palace's silence, which could indicate internal changes. Harry's public appearances, where body language and demeanor may reveal pressures no public relations strategy can fully conceal. The evolving media landscape, particularly further developments connected to Tom Bower's reporting. Potential legal or documentary evidence related to birth records or official filings. And perhaps most importantly, public sentiment itself, which increasingly drives the momentum of the story. Analysts note that once public opinion reaches a tipping point, even powerful institutions struggle to contain the narrative. Bower has once again forced a controversial question into open discussion, bringing scrutiny at a moment when the Sussex brand already faces growing skepticism and diminishing support. Regardless of whether the claims are ultimately proven or disproven, the impact is already visible. Timelines are being analyzed, past interviews revisited, and public debate expanding into mainstream discourse. Reports describing Harry under intense emotional strain contrast sharply with the image he once projected of protecting his family from relentless scrutiny. While Meghan's reliance on legal silence is viewed by critics as conflicting with her earlier emphasis on openness and truth. Meanwhile, the monarchy itself remains distant, watching carefully as events unfold. What once appeared to be a modern fairy tale now seems, to many observers, a story under intense pressure, unfolding in real time as audiences worldwide debate what comes next and whether clarity, confrontation, or continued silence will ultimately define the next chapter.